Hello, I'm Clint Walker, and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today we're going to talk about a couple of tools that appraisers have at their disposal that'll help get to an opinion of value that you might not have heard about before. So, appraisers have a lot of tools at their disposal. You learn a lot in appraiser school, and there's really a lot more tools available to determine values than what most of us ever use on a daily basis. They get very specific. There are different approaches to value. If you're a real estate agent listening to this, the approach to value that you are almost always seeing is called the sales comparison approach. That's where we pull comps, make adjustments to them to make them equivalent to the subject or as close to the subject as we can get, and then using those comps and the adjusted values, we come to an opinion of value. If the house is newer construction or we have the right information available, we can also do the cost approach, and which is essentially we can use national cost manuals that are adjusted by location. So like they know how they keep track of how much it costs to build things in specific areas. And then we can essentially recreate how much it would cost to build the house using that information and apply appropriate entrepreneurial profit or appropriate depreciation if the house is a few years old. And we can compare that to the sales comparison approach and see if they all make sense. If it's a multifamily property, we can use another technique, an additional technique called the income approach. And actually, if you look at any appraisal report you get from the lender, all three of these approaches to value are mentioned in it, but usually you're going to see the income approach zeroed out unless it is a multi-unit dwelling like a quadplex or some sort of investment property, multi-unit investment property that your buyer or that you're selling. Because that, if it's not one of those properties, then buyers aren't really using an income calculation to determine the value of it, and therefore it's not appropriate for the appraiser to do it either. So those are the three approaches to value. Those are present in all of the reports that you receive. They may just not, the appraiser might just determine though that they're not relevant, and so they don't do them. If they need to do them, you might be paying more money for that appraisal because it takes a lot of additional work to do each additional approach to value. But what we're really doing them for is to see if they all work together and, give additional support to the appraiser's final opinion of value. But, so, let's see. So we're dealing with, what we're going to talk about is, I guess, within the context of the sales comparison approach. And inside the sales comparison approach, we've got a couple of additional tools, and they are called extraordinary assumptions and hypothetical conditions. So the way to remember this, and these are not always going to be very relevant to you, but they could help you in certain circumstances, and that's the whole point of this video. So at the end, I'll tell you how you could use them. The extraordinary assumption, probably not something that you're going to need to ask an appraiser to use. But what that is essentially saying there might be something going on with the property. We are not sure if it is or if it isn't, but we need the opinion of value to be based on the extraordinary assumption that it either is or isn't. Okay, it is a tool to cover a feature or a positive or a negative or whatever. It's a tool to cover a fact about the property that we do not know about. Some examples of this could be easements. They could be like when the appraiser does their inspection on a conventional loan, the appraiser does not typically go in the crawl space, and they do not typically go in the attic. So we would make extraordinary assumptions that those spaces are, I think a lot of times we make them, the extraordinary assumption is that they are equivalent to what we are seeing. So like if the interior of the house is in good condition, we say my final opinion of value is based on the extraordinary assumption that the attic is also in good condition and that the crawl space is also in good condition, because we're not going to look at those spaces. And what that allows is for the circumstance that maybe there is something going on down there that we didn't see. And so if a fact like that is turned up later and it conflicts with our extraordinary assumption in the report, we've covered that possibility. And so we are, it's fair to say then, well, now I know something new, and so we need to go reassess and see if the value needs to change. That's what an extraordinary assumption covers. A hypothetical condition is essentially pretend. Hypothetical condition says we know something about the property, but we're going to pretend and proceed as if it is not true. Okay? Extraordinary assumption covers something we don't know. A hypothetical condition covers something we do know, but that we're going to pretend is not there. And you might think that sounds crazy, but here's how it's useful. So I have done pre-listing appraisals for agents, and say, for example, you are listing a house that has an unfinished basement, and you've got a seller who's got some money, and you've got and they've got some wherewithal and some interest in finishing that basement, and you've got a market that you think is good and strong, and that they might be able to actually make some money if they finish that basement. So you can hire the appraiser to do the appraisal based on the hypothetical condition that the basement is already finished. Okay? So it requires some additional information, like, they'll need to be finding out, well, if it was finished, what sort of floor covering would it have? Is it going to be all carpet? Is it going to be laminate? Are we pretending that there's a full kitchen down there? Are we pretending that it's got a bedroom down there? All these things have to be laid out to define the space, and then the appraiser can use a hypothetical condition that all that stuff actually does exist, and they can go pull comps and use comps in the report that have all those things and provide an opinion of value as if that were already done. It's really pretty neat, right? So they can actually give you an as-is value, and they can give you a value based on the hypothetical condition that it's already complete. Now, technically, that's two different reports, and it's probably going to cost you more money to get both values. Anytime you want a value from an appraiser, you're asking for an appraisal, okay? And it's going to, every single value they give you requires more time to do it, and so expect to pay more money. But that can be very useful, right? Now, the information that the appraiser doesn't have in there is exactly how much that work is going to cost you to be done. Okay, so they can tell you the value if you did all the work in the house, and they can tell you the as-is value, but unless you provide them with a quote from a contractor, or unless you ask them and plan to pay them to go get that information, you're not going to have the cost. And so you can help your client go out and get the information in between the after renovated, I'm calling it the after renovated value, because that's kind of a circumstance I do it most often in. But as completed value, and you can see if, maybe the difference between the appraiser's two values is $100,000. Like, they finish the basement, they leave the basement unfinished, it's $100,000 less than if they finish the basement out. So then you can go help your client get quotes, see if they can do the work, everything they told the appraiser they would do. If they can go do all that for 50, then they might make 50. And that's extremely valuable. In my agency business, a large portion, almost all of what I do, is doing exactly that. I usually work with investors, and we're flipping houses, and so what I'm looking at is, for them, they want to know, what do I need to pay for this house now in the condition that it's in, and what can I plan to make on it once I do all the work that I'm going to do. And so that right there, that after renovated value is a hypothetical condition. Here's the comps based on the hypothetical condition that's all already done. Obviously, one of the sort of potential hurdles there is that I'm using closed sales and they're not going to be done for 3 to 6 months. But it's still good guidelines. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I had an agent ask for that specific topic, and that's definitely a good one that you don't run into all the time. But understanding that that is something that an appraiser can provide you, I think can be really useful to you and really sort of give you some impact with your clients to sort of know that tool is available. So if I can ever be of service to you doing something like that, or a regular pre-listing appraisal, or a consultation, or professional measurement, feel free to go on appraiserpool.com and look me up. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas for additional videos, I would love to know about them in the comments. And if you have not liked and subscribed, I would love for you to do that too. Hope you have a great week. Bye.